is a big and beautiful world. Most of us live and die in the same corner where we were born and never get to see any of it. I don't want to be most of us.
Most of us aren't princes.
You are from Essos. Where? Lys.
Welcome back. In part 1 of the Blackfyre Blueprints, I went over some of the major players in the Black Dragon conspiracy, Illyrio and Varys, and Aegon's sketchy backstory. But in part 2 of the Blackfyre Blueprints, A Dream, shit is gonna get crazy because we're gonna go over everything that solidifies this theory. If you missed part 1, you have to watch that first or you could be confused. But briefly, part 1 contains the backstory of Aegon, Rhaegar's alleged son, and the backstories of Varys and Illyrio. Also, I go over some of the sketchy things that point to Varys being a Blackfyre Targaryen. If you watched it, then I'm sure you're ready for part 2. One of the biggest red flags for me about Aegon, Youngrith, Fagon, whatever you want to call him, is the Golden Company is supporting him. The Golden Company was founded by the great bastard of Aegon the Unworthy, Bitter Steel. Bitter Steel was the head of almost every Blackfyre rebellion, and so was the Golden Company. It is said that the Golden Company even holds Blackfyre, the Targaryen Valyrian steel sword. Bitter Steel took Blackfyre from Redgrass Field during the first Blackfyre rebellion. The Golden Company are notorious for never breaking a contract. Their words are, "Our word is as good as gold." In all these years, they have never broken a contract.
10,000 skilled soldiers fight for the Golden Company.
The Golden Company?
Never broken a contract.
But now, they have. They have broken their contract with Myr to support Aegon Targaryen. Tyrion questions Illyrio about this. At the time, he doesn't know about Aegon. He's asking why they would support Daenerys or any Targaryen. "I admire your powers of persuasion," Tyrion told Illyrio. "How did you convince the Golden Company to take up the cause of our sweet queen when they have spent so much of their history fighting against the Targaryens?" Illyrio brushed away the objection as if it were a fly. "Black or red, a dragon is still a dragon. When Meleys the Monstrous died upon the Stepstones, it was the end of the male line of House Blackfyre." The cheesemonger smiled through his forked beard. "And Daenerys will give the exiles what Bitter Steel and the Blackfyres never could. She will take them home." Okay, so this sounds good. It sounds good. Good reasoning, good reasoning. So some sell swords that just want to go home. Red or black dragon, it doesn't matter to them. But that's not the case. Because Viserys had tried to get the Golden Company to his cause before, and they laughed at him. Her brother Viserys had once feasted the captains of the Golden Company in hopes they might take up his cause. They ate his food and heard his pleas and laughed at him. Dany had only been a little girl, but she remembered. So they won't just support a dragon just because they're a dragon. When Daenerys was a little girl, they wouldn't support Viserys, although he would have taken them home. So black or red dragon not making a difference, yeah, that's bullshit. The blood ties of House Blackfyre are known with the Golden Company. They carry around Bitter Steel's skull dipped in gold. They are very, very loyal to Bitter Steel, to their founder, and the Blackfyre is the only person that I believe that they would break a contract for. And Illyrio basically hints at this. Beneath the gold, the Bitter Steel. I had heard the Golden Company was under contract with one of the free cities. Myr, Illyrio smirked. Contracts can be broken. "There's more coin and cheese than I knew," said Tyrion. "How did you accomplish that?" The Magister waggled his fat fingers. "Some contracts are written ink, and some in blood. I say no more." Yeah, okay. Blood, all right. Blackfyre blood. There seems to have been some contract written up about 12 years ago when Aegon was like 5 between Varys and the commander of the Golden Company at that time, Miles Tone, also known as Blackheart. So Illyrio has been planning this for years. His first plan seems to have been for Viserys to meet them with 50,000 Dothraki screamers, but that didn't happen, and they were supposed to meet with Daenerys, and that didn't happen. But it has always, always, always been for young Griff. It never was about Viserys or Daenerys. Viserys or Daenerys was about to fuck shit up, and Griff was about to come in, or Aegon was about to come in like a hero and save the realm. We also have to look at the dreams and prophecies of a few characters, like from a few different characters. When Tyrion is with Illyrio on his way to meet Aegon and the whole crew on the Shy Maid, he has the craziest dream. That night, Tyrion Lannister dreamed of a battle that turned the hills of Westeros as red as blood. He was in the midst of it, dealing death with an axe as big as he was, fighting side by side with Barristan the Bold and Bittersteel as dragons wheeled across the sky above them. In the dream, he had 2 heads, both noseless. The dream is telling. Tyrion has 2 heads and he's fighting side by side with Sir Barristan the Bold and Bittersteel. So Meleys the Monstrous is said to have had 2 heads, and he was the last male Blackfyre. So it could have just been the wine that caused him to have this dream, or this dream could have been prophetic in nature. But I think it's worth noting. We also need to talk about Jaime's Weirwood dream. When Jaime falls asleep on the stump, he has a dream in A Storm of Swords. This dream is indeed prophetic in nature, and many aspects of this dream have came true after the dream itself. Brienne and the bear, the sword, Oathbreaker, Jaime giving Brienne a sword. But one thing we need to look at is when Jaime sees the ghost of the Kingsguard. The visors of their helms were closed, but Jaime Lannister did not need to look upon their faces to know them. 5 had been his brothers: Oswell Went and Jon Darry, Lewyn Martell, a Prince of Dorne, the White Bull, Gerald Hightower, Sir Arthur Dayne, Sword of the Morning, and beside them, crowned in mist and grief with his long hair streaming behind him, rode Rhaegar Targaryen, Prince of Dragonstone and rightful heir to the Iron Throne. "You don't frighten me," he called, turning as they split to either side of him. He did not know which way to face. "I will fight you one by one or all together. But who is there for the wench to duel? She gets crossed when you leave her out." "I swore an oath to keep him safe," she said to Rhaegar's shade. "I swore a holy oath." "We all swore oaths," said Sir Arthur Dayne, so sadly. The shades dismounted from their ghostly horses. When they drew their long swords, it made not a sound. "He was going to burn the city," Jaime said, "to leave Robert only ashes." "He was your king," said Darry. "You swore to keep him safe," said Went. "And the children, them as well," said Prince Lewyn. Prince Rhaegar burned with a cold light, now white, now red, now dark. "I left my wife and children in your hands. I never thought he'd hurt them." Prince Lewyn is Elia Martell's brother. He is Rhaegar's wife's brother. He is the uncle of Rhaegar's children. He asked why Jaime didn't keep them safe. Rhaegar's ghost then gets furious. He burned with cold light, now white, now red, now dark. This should confirm that Rhaegar's children, Rhaenys and Aegon, are dead. But I'm sure this won't be enough for some of you, so now we will move to the House of the Undying. When Daenerys visits the House of the Undying, she sees a few things through the doors. The first door she looks into, she sees a beautiful woman being raped by dwarves. Then she sees Robb with the wolf's head and the slaughter at a feast. Basically, it's the Red Wedding that she's seeing. She sees Sir Willem Darry. She sees her father, the Mad King, and then she sees Rhaegar. Viserys was her first thought the next time she paused, but a second glance told her otherwise. The man had her brother's hair, but he was taller and his eyes were a dark indigo rather than lilac. "Aegon," he said to a woman nursing a newborn babe in a great wooden bed. "What better name for a king?" "Will you make a song for him?" the woman asked. "He has a song," the man replied. "He is the prince that was promised, and his is the song of ice and fire." He looked up when he said it, and his eyes met Dany's, and it seemed as if he saw her standing there beyond the door. "There must be one more," he said, though whether he was speaking to her or the woman in the bed she could not say. "The dragon has 3 heads. He went to the window seat, picked up a harp, and ran his fingers lightly over its silvery strings. Sweet sadness filled the room as a man and wife and babe faded like the morning mist. Only the music lingered behind to speed her on her way. With the exception of Robb Stark, everyone that Daenerys is shown is dead. Daenerys is shown the Red Wedding, and Robb Stark does eventually die. But everyone else, Sir Willem Darry, the Mad King, Rhaegar, Elia, and allegedly Aegon, they're all dead. If Daenerys does ever meet this so-called Aegon, I wonder if she will recall the look of the babe that she saw in the House of the Undying. When she's in the Chamber of the Undying and they're chanting and showing her images and giving her titles, this happens. Glowing like a sunset, a red sword was raised in the hand of the blue-eyed king who cast no shadow. A cloth dragon swayed on poles amidst the cheering crowd. From a smoking tower, a great stone beast took wing, breathing shadow fire. Mother of dragons, slayer of lies. She's given the title Slayer of Lies. We know that Stannis is the blue-eyed king with the red sword that casts no shadow. Daenerys slayed the lie that Stannis is Azor Ahai because it was Daenerys that woke dragons from stone. But she is also shown a cloth dragon swaying on poles amidst a cheering crowd. A fake dragon, a mummer's dragon. Quaithe tells Daenerys in a dance with dragons this: "No, hear me, Daenerys Targaryen. The glass candles are burning. Soon comes the pale mare, and after her, the others. Kraken and Dark Flame, Lion and Griffin, the Sun and the Mummer's Dragon. Trust none of them. Remember the Undying. Beware the perfume Seneschal." To me, the perfume Seneschal is and always has been Varys, but the Sun and the Mummer's Dragon. The Sun could be Quentin Martell, but he's not ever with Aegon when he comes to see Daenerys. The pale mare seems to be the disease that has hit Meereen. Quaithe then says the Kraken and the Dark Flame, which seem to be Victarion and Moqorro, Lion and Griffin, which seem to be Tyrion and Jon Cunnington, and the Sun and the Mummer's Dragons. Dorne's sigil is the sun pierced with the spear, and in the Winds of Winter sample chapters, Arianne is basically going to treat with Aegon, even though Doran and everyone else thinks that Aegon is a fraud. But the important part is that we know that there is a Mummer's Dragon. There is a fake dragon on the board. But you might be asking yourself, well, what is a Mummer's Dragon? A dead man in the prow of a ship, a blue rose, a banquet of blood. What does any of it mean, Khaleesi? A Mummer's Dragon, you said. What is a Mummer's Dragon, pray? A cloth dragon on poles, Dany explained. Mummers use them in their follies to give the heroes something to fight. This is actually one of my favorite quotes. Mummers use them in their follies to give the heroes something to fight. Varys was a mummer. He worked in a mummer show before he was cut. He's a maester of disguise, and he's a black dragon. And Aegon is his dragon, his mummer's dragon, a Blackfire. Moqorro also gave Tyrion some interesting prophecy. Someone told me that the night was dark and full of terrors. What do you see in those flames? Dragons, Moqorro said in the common tongue of Westeros. He spoke it very well, with hardly a trace of an accent. No doubt that was one reason the High Priest Benerro had chosen him to bring the faith of R'hllor to Daenerys Targaryen. Dragons old and young, true and false, bright and dark, and you, a small man with a big shadow, snarling in the midst of all. What Moqorro sees in the flames is very similar to the dream that Tyrion had when he was with Illyrio, but what stands out is the old and young, true and false, bright and dark dragons. Old, true, and bright represents the bright red dragon on the field of black, the sigil of House Targaryen. Young, false, and dark represents the dark black dragon on the field of red, the sigil of House Blackfire. Targaryen pretenders. There's also the small man with the big shadow part. That's a direct connection to Varys.
It's a trick, a shadow on the wall. And a very small man can cast a very large shadow.
Another reason I feel Aegon is a fraud is because Varys and Illyrio never contact Dorne. They never reach out to Prince Doran in all of these years, or even the more eccentric Oberyn Martell. Oberyn would have been dying to support his nephew if his nephew was really his nephew. So maybe they didn't reach out to Dorne because they couldn't reach out to Dorne because they couldn't reach out to Dorne and present them a baby that they don't recognize. Surely they would know if the baby was really Aegon. Surely they had seen him at least once, that it's their sister's son. Another red flag is Illyrio's motives. He says he's doing all of this because he wants to become a Maester of Coin. That makes absolutely no fucking sense. He's a rich man in Pentos with a huge manse. He has everything he could hope to have. Maester of Coin is not anything anyone would want to be. Tyrion was Maester of Coin. Peter Baelish was Maester of Coin. Robert refers to the job as the job of the man that's counting coppers. It's not a glorious title. It's not something that anyone would desire to have unless they were not as rich as Illyrio is. But Illyrio's already rich. He has power. He has everything that he could ever want. So he has to have some other motive. But let's look at the other members on the Shy Maid. We have Septa Lemore and Jon Cunnington. Jon Cunnington, bless his heart, he really believes that Aegon is Rhaegar's son. Jon Cunnington was in love with Rhaegar, and he called him his Silver Prince. They were allegedly best friends, but Jon Cunnington was the Mad King's hand until Aerys exiled him after the Battle of the Bells. In exile, he joined the Golden Company. He stayed on with the Golden Company about 5 years, and then Varys came calling with the prince that was grown from a bean. Look, Jon, it's your man crush's son, the Silver Prince you were in love with. You have a chance to avenge him. Jon Cunnington looked at Rhaegar like kind of the way that Brienne looks at Renly. He also blames himself for Rhaegar's death. If he had killed Robert at the Stony Sept, the Battle of the Trident would have never happened. He would do anything to see Aegon on the throne, and Varys knew this. There are no secrets from the Spider, and George R.R. Martin has confirmed that Jon Cunnington is indeed gay. It is known that he was believed it just because he wanted to, because he loved Rhaegar that much. So then we have Septa, or maybe she's not a Septa at all and the Septa robes are just a disguise. Septa Lemore has her secrets, Tyrion believes. She bathes naked in the River Royne, and Tyrion notices that she does have stretch marks and has probably had at least one child. There is something more to her. She changes disguises, and she says this: Lemore had changed out of her Septa robes into garb more befitting the wife or daughter of a prosperous merchant. Tyrion watched her closely. He had sniffed out the truth beneath the dyed blue hair of Griff and young Griff easily enough, and Yandri and Ysilla seemed to be no more than they claimed to be, whilst Duck was somewhat less. Lemore, though, who is she really? Why is she here? Not for gold, I judge. What is this prince to her? Was she ever a true Septa? Haldon took note of her change of garb as well. What are we to make of this sudden loss of faith? I preferred you in your Septa's robes, Lemore. I preferred her naked, said Tyrion. Lemore gave him a reproachful look. That is because you have a wicked soul. Septa's robes scream of Westeros and might draw unwelcome eyes onto us. She turned back to Prince Aegon. You are not the only one who must needs hide. I think the safest bet with Lemore is she's either Fagon's mother or Wetner's. I've seen a theory that she is Syrah, Illyrio's wife, but if she is, her hair doesn't match, but her hair could always be dyed. I've seen a theory that she is a Shardane, but I don't think she's a Shar because one thing that would stick out is her eye color. Tyrion would have to notice her eyes. I mean, come on, a Shar's eyes are hauntingly purple, haunting purple eyes. It could not have been missed. There is also a theory that she's Tyene Sand's mother, because Tyene Sand's mother was a Septa too. But what I think is more likely is that she is Aegon's mother, and she may very well be offspring of a Blackfyre. All things considered, there seems to be a false dragon somewhere, a mummer's dragon, and Varys and Illyrio are the directors of this folly. Varys is the main clue, the main key to everything. Nothing is adding up. Varys says he serves the realm, but he does not. His actions prove he does not serve the realm. He stops Rhaegar's plans at Harrenhal. Robert was a bad king, but there was peace in the realm when Varys and Illyrio were in the dungeons and they were plotting in the Red Keep to overthrow Robert. And if we look at the Dance of Dragons, the epilogue, Varys kills Kevan Lannister because he is starting to mend the wounds that Cersei has created. So Varys murders Kevan Lannister, another good hand that's going to actually raise up another good king. This pains me, my lord. You do not deserve to die alone on such a cold, dark night. There are many like you, good men in service to bad causes, but you are threatening to undo all of the Queen's good work, to reconcile Highgarden and Casterly Rock, bind the faith to your little king, unite the 7 kingdoms under Tommen's rule. So, Kevan Lannister was serving the realm. He was mending all of Cersei's fuck-ups, and Varys killed him anyway, because it's never been about serving the realm. It's always been about Aegon, about putting Aegon on the throne. And it's not because he's the rightful king or because he'll be a good king, because no one knows what he'll be. He's a young boy. It's because he's a Blackfyre. It's surely not because he's a Targaryen. Varys sent assassins to kill Daenerys and her son while he was in her stomach. Illyrio says he wants to be Maester of Coin. Please. He can have anything his heart desires in Pentos, but he wants castles and coin. Please. I told you, my little friend, not all that a man does is done for gain. Believe as you wish, but even fat old fools like me have friends and debts of affection to repay. Liar, thought Tyrion. There is something in this venture worth more to you than coin or castles. You meet so few men who value friendship over gold these days. Too true, the fat man said, deaf to the irony. Debts of affection. That debt surely isn't to Daenerys. She may have been in his company for 6 months at the most, and Daenerys doesn't even trust him. Jorah doesn't trust him. Tyrion doesn't trust him. No one trusts him save for Varys. They are your people, and they love you well, Magister Illyrio said amiably. In Holdfast, all across the realm, men lift secret toasts to your health, while women sew dragon banners and hide them against the day of your return from across the water. He gave a massive shrug, or so my agents tell me. Dany had no agents, no way of knowing what anyone was doing or thinking across the narrow sea. But she mistrusted Illyrio's sweet words, as she mistrusted everything about Illyrio. So, all things considered, Varys and Illyrio are conspiring to put a bastard black dragon on the Iron Throne. The Golden Company is backing Aegon. Aegon and the Golden Company have landed in Westeros. They have taken Storm's End. In time, we will learn the true colors of this dragon. Red or black? Is a dragon still a dragon? What do you think? I'm curious to know. These videos were a lot longer. I had to cut a lot of stuff out. Sometimes I was just reiterating the same points over and over and over, and I tried to shorten it. But what do you think about the Blackfyre blueprint? And how could this storyline in the books translate into the show? Like, I could actually see Varys betraying Daenerys. Like, he has to betray somebody. That has to be his thing, because it's never been about the realm. It's never been about that. So who is he gonna betray? Will he betray Daenerys in order to support Jon? What do you think? Like, are you sold that Varys is a Blackfyre? Are you sold that Aegon is a Blackfyre? Are you sold that Illyrio is a Blackfyre? Are you sold on this black dragon conspiracy? But as far as the books go, like, what I really want to know is, how is this going to affect Daenerys coming to Westeros? Because her nephew, or her alleged nephew, is already there. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone that supports me on Patreon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and join the Sweet Summer family. Okay, my sweet summer children, have a good day.
Shame.